So after getting the chance to play the original Wavetable synthesizers from Korg, the DW6000 and DW8000 earlier this year on the channel, I was really curious to get my hands on the new Wavetable synthesizer from Korg, the Korg Modwave. And here today we're going to talk about what I found, how it's related to the original, and also what makes it unique and compelling today. Stick with us. Hi, I'm Zach Marr from Alamo Music here in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. This is our Alamo Sound Lab channel where we talk about all things music tech related. And I'm happy to be here again with the Korg Modwave. I've been very excited to get my hands on one of these because I was very curious how it related to the Korg DW8000 because it doesn't seem to be very well articulated online. And I've also really enjoyed both the WaveState and the Op6, the other two digital synths from Korg in this form factor. I think they're home runs. I think they're very interesting and compelling and kind of sound worlds in their own. And so I was curious if they could do it a third time in a unique way. And today I'm going to talk about whether or not they succeeded and how this relates to the DW8000. I've hoped you've enjoyed some of the other content we've had on the channel with Chris and Cooper and some of the other guys on the team here at Alamo. But today we're back into the fun world of synthesizers, so let's get started. The DW8000 was Korg's Wavetable synthesizer. The 8000 wasn't the first, I think it was the 6000, but they were both very close together, and they were Korg's first kind of foray into digital synthesis. And it was a response to the dominance of the DX7. A lot of manufacturers were scrambling to find their own way of doing digital, and a lot of them didn't have the technology, and so they did things like the DW6000, 8000, which was a hybrid. It had an analog filter, but it had digital wavetables that were the kind of digital basis for the sound generation. And this was all going after realistic sounds. They wanted a realistic piano sound, a realistic mallet sound. And this was, again, from the DX7 revolution. And, you know, in today's lens and with today's kind of optics, you'd be like, well, why do you want all these realistic sounds? There's with really high sample quality synthesizers that we have, or our sound kind of banks. Realism isn't a problem anymore. It's more what can you do with kind of sonic creation and kind of pure sonic exploration. It's more of an interesting question in today's world. But in this world, in the past, that was the quest. And the DW8000 had 16 different wavetables. The DWGS wavetables, I think it's like digitally wave generated synthesis tables. I don't know exactly what it stands for. I forgot. You can look it up. But this, you can see them right here, a few of them, and they were all super realistic kind of sounds or basic sounds. And it sounds pretty good. We're going to have a clip of it playing at the end so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. But how does this fit into the Modwave? What's the lineage? And I think it was interesting that they did this because Korg's lineage and the lineage of kind of synthesis, digital synthesis, gets really complex in the 80s. There's the D50 from Roland, which is kind of sample plus synthesis, and then the M1 from Korg, which is also kind of sample plus synthesis, their own variation of it. And then you start getting into virtual analog in the 90s. And you have this one thread, though, that didn't really become dominant. What became more dominant was Romplers, the M1 kind of paving the way for that into the 90s. And then virtual analog became kind of a bigger deal in the later period of the 90s. But it was like Romplers and virtual analog got all the glory. But there was this other kind of pathway that really saw its roots in the PPG original wavetable synth, one of the earliest digital synths from PPG, and was picked up and continued by Waldorf and Ensoniq, where they really were looking at what can you do with, it's almost the additive synthesis, or what can you do with computer processing power on a wavetable? What are the interesting things you can do there? And I forgot, there's another train here with the Wave Station from Korg, which was a collaboration with Dave Smith Instruments when they went out of business. There's a whole path there with vector synthesis and kind of chaining wavetables together in sequences. That was also kind of one of these trains that, so digital synthesis went all over the place. And this one I think was the least done. The wavetable, like really getting into wavetables and additive synthesis, were kind of the two that were the least popular in my opinion. And I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on this. This is just, I don't want to give misinformation, but really, if you look at what's popular from that era, it's not the Fismo, which really, from Ensoniq, which really was pushing transwave technology, which was real-time manipulation of wavetables and making all sorts of crazy cool noises. I see the Modwave, as part of that lineage. You see Waldorf's Blowfield and other kind of innovations that Waldorf has done, which came out of PPG. And it's a similar exploration path that they've had. Really hardcore sound design. That's really the path. It's like, Kawai also did this with some additive synthesis with the K5000 and the K3. This was really hardcore for hardcore sound designers, and it was not something that caught on, I think, as much as some of these other digital trends. So the Modwave picks up in that lineage, and really I view it as a continuation of that conversation, more so than anything else Korg did in that path. I don't think Korg really played in that beyond early, the DW8000 and 6000. They did do wavetable through the wavetable kind of sequencing with the wave station and vector synthesis there, and they did do with the M1 kind of sample plus synthesis, virtual analog later. But this path was really explored by other manufacturers. But what they've done, like they did with the Op6, which is took the story of FM and modernized it with an amazing interface and then a lot of extra goodies in addition. My kind of thesis for the Modwave is that it's taking what Ensoniq and what Waldorf has done really well, and it's taking this kind of additive, kind of wavetable mangling that and giving you a hands-on instrument that has really great controls for getting into sound design in that way. And that is the secret sauce of the Modwave. It has stuff. It has all the crazy sequencing. It doesn't have everything the Wave Station has, or the Wave State has, but it has a lot of it. It's got some FM stuff in here as well. With the two oscillators, you can use some FM between them. But what it really is, where it's focused and where I think it shines, is right in there in its ability to kind of mangle wavetables and do all sorts of interesting things with an individual wavetable. So I just wanted to talk about that, because I think it makes the product make sense. It kind of, if you're looking at different types of synthesis and synthesizers, I think it belongs in that category. And I think it's most useful to think about it from that lens. Let's also talk about other things that make it unique. The Chaos physics pad, cool kind of iteration on an expression pad or a kind of mod wheel. It's not similar to the Polybrutes kind of Morphe, but it's a similar idea in that it's what other expressive interfaces can we give a player to use. Is it amazing? It's cool. I think it's yet to be seen. It could be kind of gimmicky. I think the magic is what I was saying earlier, where it goes deep and where you can get weird, and where the real meat of this instrument, I think, is in its wavetable section. But I think the Chaos physics is cool, and it's very, there's some cool things where you can kind of set different, you can almost put geography on, you have a little ball, and it's fun to play with, and it's kind of entertaining. But is it super is it super deep in the way that this section is? I don't think so. I think this is still the magic. Then you also have some great effects, really robust effects section, robust sequencer, a bunch of filter modeling. There's crazy multi-filter, and this is again where the Fismo kind of lineage. I see the Fismo had a ton of different filters in it. A lot of them were underneath the hood, and you couldn't even get to them. But all sorts of different kind of filter setups where there's multiple filters that the sound is running through, high pass, low pass, simultaneously. All sorts of interesting things that you can do with it, and this has a similar filter that you can get really deep into. It's very powerful. And then you have mod knobs, which are just different ways and you can assign different parameters to the mod knobs. There's a mod matrix, virtual mod matrix in here as well. So it's really deep. You can set up really complex sounds. You can do a lot with this. And there's some great videos online already that go in depth all over this. It's amazing to me how deep the Modwave and how deep the Wave State are, and the Op6. I would say the Modwave and the Wave State are probably deeper and harder and a little less hands-on than, or there's a lot more that you have to get into, and you need to use maybe the the software that Korg provides to really take full advantage. The Op6 is hard in different ways. We're going to do a follow-up video comparing the three, but let's take a listen to the Modwave, and we're going to listen to the DW8000 as well, just so you can kind of hear. They don't sound that similar at all. Because it's a hybrid, it has an analog filter. It's got a very different tone. It's also kind of very low resolution digital wave tables in here. I think they're like 8-bit or 16-bit. They're very low. It's got a pleasant sound, definitely of the time. This is much more hi-fi sounding, and it does have the DWGS wavetables in sample form in this, so you have samples in here as well as wavetables, and it's got so many samples from all sorts of classic analog gear and also classic vintage digital gear. Very, very comprehensive sample library and huge wavetable collection as well. So very meaty, very deep. You could spend years on this and not get bored, I think, and that's true of all three of their digital synths, which is really impressive. So let's take a listen, and then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. So there you have it, the Modwave. You know, I haven't had a ton of time to get into sound design with it, and I just picked out some of the patches I like the best and modded them in ways that I think I found pleasant. Where I think it shines, I do think it has a similar character to the DW8000, which is very dark character. It's kind of gloomy sounding, and the Modwave, even though it's pretty hi-fi, and even though it's not. I think it excels in kind of gloomier and darker sounds. Even the red and black came out that didn't come out, but it started getting shipped during Halloween. And some of the videos that came out at the time were plain spooky sound. It's got a spooky, heavy, industrial vibe to it, but I don't think it's limited to that in terms of its sonic range. They've done an amazing job with the interface at making kind of wavetable manipulation, sound design at the wavetable level. More hands-on, more intuitive. I think they've pushed it probably as far as you can push it. The question is it far enough to make it popular and a larger audience? I think this type of synthesis wasn't as successful as some of the other types because it wasn't as palatable, it wasn't as easy to get into, it required a lot more work. So has Korg succeeded here at making it a little bit easier, and is the audience going to be large enough? I don't know. Time will only tell. What I personally think is that it's a great instrument, very powerful. You wouldn't be disappointed if you're interested in what it is kind of designed to explore. It does have overlap with the Op6 and it does have overlap with the wave state, but they're all focused in different, really making hands-on different things that have been difficult to do in the past with classic synthesizers. So we're going to do a comparison in another video, but I just wanted to do this video. I hope this was helpful. Please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts or experiences with the Modwave or some of these other kind of wavetable, edgy synthesizers from the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Please leave a comment below, and if you didn't subscribe, I would appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, we'd love to see you here again. Pardon my voice, recovering from a cold. If you want to talk more, come see us at almamusic.com, and until next time, talk to you soon.